Welcome back to the Active Recall YouTube channel. I am so excited to be starting this series out because it's originally why I started the channel in the first place, right? I want to document my progress along with trying to reinforce the ideas by teaching it as I go along, right? So as I'm going along, I'm gonna drop some gems, some tips, some tricks that I pick up that you may not have picked up while you were studying this topic. And we can probably exchange ideas, we can probably exchange gems, and it'll be beneficial for both of us, right? As I mentioned in my first video, active recall is the superior way to study, right? And active recall is basically replicating what you learn through teaching it or rewriting your notes or what have you. I prefer to make content around it because I love making content, and I'm a nerd. I love studying, so I might as well just merge the two together, right? And I'm going through a career transition, so I might as well just merge it all together, right? We're just gonna cover the basics of subnetting, right? We're just gonna address two questions. What is subnetting and why do we subnet? And that's pretty much it. That's what we're gonna cover in this video. And the next video, we're gonna be covering the anatomy of the IPv4 address, right? And just a little aside, because I gotta rant a little bit. When you're learning a topic, when you're first learning a topic, ignore what everybody says about it as far as how difficult it is, how easy it is, whatever. Ignore all of that, because you might get into the topic thinking that it's easy and it's difficult, or you might get into a topic thinking that it's hard and it's actually quite easy for you. And that's pretty much the case with subnetting for me, right? I don't find subnetting to be this difficult thing that everybody says it is, and it's supposedly about 40% of what the CCNA exam is going to cover. That's a good thing for me because I actually enjoy subnetting. And again, it plays into what I said before. If you don't enjoy this stuff, it's going to come a little bit harder for you. Maybe it's a little bit easier for me because I'm actually enjoying the ins and outs of subnetting, such as the anatomy of an IP address, what routing is, what switching is, a lot of different things. And subnetting kind of pulls a lot of that together for me. I'm starting to see the big picture of network engineering now that subnetting has been introduced to me. Just block out what everybody says about it. I'm just gonna give my opinion. Subnetting, although it can be complicated, it's actually, to me, it's simple because I'm understanding what subnetting is, right? So I don't know. That's just my perspective on subnetting so far. Don't let anybody discourage you when you're first studying the topic. It was the same thing when I first picked up calculus, right? When I first started studying calculus, when I was doing my engineering degree, people said calculus was this hard thing and it was difficult. It made it seem like it was almost impossible to pass a calculus class. And what ended up happening for me, somebody that was taking remedial math in undergrad because his mathematics scores were terrible in high school, I ended up finding calculus to be quite easy. As a matter of fact, I ended up doing calculus 1, 2, 3, differential equations, linear algebra, and if they had more mathematics for me, I would have taken more. I think I took linear algebra as an elective. What I'm trying to say is this. Take it from somebody that took remedial mathematics in undergrad. If subnetting is something that is difficult for you, or math is something that is difficult for you, I would say start with just blocking out all of the noise and get to work. Find patterns within the material that you can recognize and that will help you to understand the material, study the material. What I'm doing is I'm doing active recall. I'm talking to you about the material, and it helps it to become more solidified in my mind. Enough with the motivational rant. I'm just gonna get into what subnetting is, right? Our first question. What is subnetting? Subnet stands for sub-network. That's it. That's literally it, right? So you're given a network as a network engineer, or maybe you're installing your own home network or whatever it is, given a network, an IP address or whatever, and you have to split that network up into smaller networks. You have to split them up into subnets. There's a popular analogy that everybody's using when they introduce subnetting. They introduced this whole pizza analogy. I don't know if they were hungry while when they first started out subnetting or what have you, but this pizza analogy is popular and it works. Say you have a pizza pie, right? Now, we can't eat that whole pizza in one sitting, but there are some people that can actually eat that whole pizza in one sitting. Let me just take that back. They could just fold that pizza up and then shove it down their gullet. I know there are some of you out there like that, but most of us cannot do that. Most of us will not do that, right? We have this whole pizza, and then in order for us to consume it without getting a bellyache, what we do is cut it into slices, right? Typically 8 slices. Some people like them thinner, maybe 16 slices. That's pretty much what subnetting is. It's the same thing with subnetting, right? When you take an IP, you're literally slicing it up into smaller networks. Why would we want to do this? You want a subnetwork for 3 main reasons. Pretty sure there's more reasons. Organization, performance, security. Say you're a network engineer and you're going to install a network for a business. You're given the network, given the IP, and the company tells you that they want a certain amount of networks. They have a certain amount of device, they need a certain amount of networks. You're going to subnet for them. This company is going to have obviously multiple departments. They might have the HR department, the sales department, research and development department, engineering department. They might have a myriad departments. You're going to subnet and you're going to organize as per the company's request. They might say they need maybe 11 networks for 11 different departments and they have a certain amount of hosts. You're gonna have to figure out a way to subnet tailored to their needs. Another reason is security, which kind of ties into the organization aspect of it, right? You don't want anybody in the HR department to be able to access information from the engineering department. You don't want anybody in the research and development department to access anything in sales and etc. Ultimately, the benefit of subnetting is that if one part of the network is compromised, you can isolate that part from the rest of the network, right? So say an attacker compromised the HR department, you would do well to isolate the network in the HR department, cut it off from the rest of the network so that nothing else gets compromised, right? There's a performance benefit of it. Smaller networks perform faster. If you have a ton of devices on one network, like I currently do, but with this subnetting knowledge, I'll be able to optimize the speed of my network with this knowledge, right? But say you have like maybe 20 devices or 30 devices on your network like I do, it's gonna be kind of slow. And a lot of people tend to have 30, 40 devices, every piece of device on a all-purpose wireless access point, which is a router, a switch, etc., right? But smaller networks tend to run faster, so you can subnet where you can have maybe 10, 12 devices on one network and you're pretty much good to go. So those are the 3 reasons why we subnet, right? For organization, performance, and security. One more thing, routers. Routers are in the middle of this whole subnetting process, right? You have that one point of administration for all of these subnets. You have this point of administration where you can pretty much just block off these networks if you want, right? At will, right? That's pretty much everything you need to really know to get started with subnetting. We're gonna get into the anatomy of IPv4 addressing in the next video because that's where it's gonna be a little bit more technical, right? It's gonna be a little bit more technical with that regard. And that's pretty much that. So thank you for tuning in. This is gonna be an exciting series because it's really gonna challenge. It's really gonna challenge me, right? It's gonna challenge me to break these things down in such a way that not only you can understand, right, but for me to understand. Because it's real easy to sit there and read through the book and memorize everything in the book, and then you get on the test now and just like, okay, you know what the technical terms are, you know how to do the math behind everything, but you don't really know how it actually works, right? And that's important for being able to pivot through the myriad of questions that they have from different angles, right? So thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next time. Peace.